headline of 702 Walk the Talk, one of the top events, probably one of the top 5 walk events in the world with the numbers that it pulls. I'm joined by my dear brother and friend Clement Manyatela. You know him from our screens. You know him, the voice that welcomes you into the actuality stuff, hard-hitting political commentary weekdays. So, but he's now here joining us to reflect on this important day. But we are also at the seat of government, the union buildings. And Clement, you are not just a broadcaster, and you are a fitness fanatic. You do the walks and the like. So, probably this is your 100th Walk the Talk.
I've been doing Walk the Talk so long, for so many years, even before I joined 702.
Yeah.
So when last year I was here, because of COVID, we didn't have it for a while. But I've done it for a number of times. I've lost count.
Exactly. I was telling somebody that for my first time I doing Walk the Talk alone without my family. My daughter's just turning 18 in September.
Yeah.
The first Walk the Talk we did, she was 2 years on a stroll.
Oh my goodness!
And we still have the pictures. But last year we were at Cradle of Humankind, coming back after COVID, going to pay homage to our common human ancestry, to thank them for protecting us from COVID. And then this year we moved from the cradle to freedom. What has been the significance of actually being able to see this property, not just being in Johannesburg, but moving from other cities, and I guess also expanding your reach to other broader audiences and communities?
True, because the thing about, we always talk about the 702 land.
Yes.
It's very vast. It's not just Joburg, it's not Zarekureleni, but there are many parts of 702 land, and which is why it's important for us to move around. And I'm so glad that we do it now, because back in the day it was always Emerenshi.
Yes, and like,
but now we are seeing different parts, because there's a lot of things to do and see in Gauteng.
Yeah.
And I don't think we spend a lot of time just appreciating what's there to do, the activities to participate in within the province. So I'm glad that, one, we're moving it around, but also theming around this year, 30 years of our democracy. That is so important. That's a big milestone for the country. So for us to pause and say, this is where we come from, we are walking, to actually also appreciate the context and history of this country, it's a big deal for me.
100%. And I mean, it comes on the backdrop. I was telling people just coming out of India yesterday, South Africa got another World Heritage Sites, and Gauteng in particular, Constitution Hill, the space that we are in here, Union Buildings, so all these Nelson Mandela legacy sites, Sharpeville Memorial, the Orlando West streets of Vilagazi, and June 16 Memorial, Walter Sisulu Square, are now World Heritage Site coming out of India. So how significant are these now that we are walking, actually, we walked from Freedom Park, probably the country's national heritage sites, into now a World Heritage Site.
Seat of government.
The seat of government.
Yeah.
I was telling somebody that in White House, you'll just see it from the fence there.
They don't want us anywhere close.
They don't want you anywhere close. But here you can actually walk up until there's the steps there.
Exactly, and I think that's the great thing about this building and how inclusive it is. It's not just, this is the seat of government, but it's an opportunity for you to also come and engage with it. I think these heritage sites are so important. And even last year when 702 said we are going to the cradle of humankind, I was glad, because I've been there many times. I mean, from the days of Homo Naledi, the discovery. In fact, that's why I met you.
Yes,
funny enough. That's why I met you ever for the first time. And sometimes you need to urge listeners to, come, let's go see this together.
Break the barriers.
Break it. Because normally when you just go to them, go check out Freedom Park, Heritage Site, or go check out Union Buildings. There's no interest. It's like, what am I going to do? But when you organize events and you say, let's go, people can see it. They get exposed to these important heritage sites that have such significant meanings. And next time, there are listeners here who are like, we're going to start walking with our friends around the city.
Yes.
We're going to go check out Freedom Park because there's something that interested them there as well.
100%.
And that's how you really engineer and nudge that interest.
Coming back, I was telling somebody, we had Afropunk at Cornhill. We have had so many book launches, Women's Month activities at the Women's Jail, and now with the declaration of it as a World Heritage Site. And I was saying, but at the Apartheid Museum, there's not even a bar there when I come out of this telling story, and there's nothing to drown my sorrow.
Because it's hectic there.
It's hectic there. And I was saying to the colleagues, we start to curate our spaces in a much better, inclusive way now. I can't get a drink coming out of Apartheid Museum. But how important are these exclusive spaces, inclusive spaces that we have right now?
Yeah, we these places. So for me, I'm all about our history. You know, whenever I'm traveling across the world, I see how many people are interested in our history.
Yes.
Because it's so unique.
Yeah.
It's so painful. And I feel like sometimes as South Africans, renali PTSD. It's almost like going back to the Apartheid Museum is going to get me too angry, but that's important.
Or it's for old people. It's not me.
No.
It's not for me.
Take your kids there. I've taken my younger sister, my younger cousins to Constitution Hill, because it's important that they learn about these heritage sites, but also about where this country comes from. So we have an opportunity here in South Africa to go to these spaces, which I think are inclusive. We need to do more work and really, and I don't want to say advertise them, but speak about the importance of getting to them.
And I guess events like this, where now we are
That's
walking out of Freedom Park, I had taken my daughter way back to the cradle, and he says, you know, if you had came here 2 weeks ago, I would have nailed the test that we wrote at school, because in that test they ask about these things. I would have nailed, and I was like, now this thing is no longer just about the heritage, it's edutainment. It's also edutainment, and it is in the curriculum, and now it also gives us an opportunity to actually go with the family bond, because we live in this hustle and bustle spaces. Now that when you have a chance to speak to our families, you are able to take them, but they also learn out of these things. I think this is remarkable, and that's for me how you change the curriculum to embrace, you know, our history, our heritage, our narrative. But how remarkable this you think it is?
Yeah, it is. And you know, it doesn't then end just from as a chapter in the history lesson or in the curriculum, because also our history, if we're being honest, we're not telling it a lot. It becomes but a small section of our curriculum, and the more we not only expose our history, our heritage, our culture, which is so diverse, like we've got the most diverse, like people come, I know people who travel overseas just to come here for the people.
Exactly.
They have not even picked where they want to go. They're like, South Africa, the people, what you guys have been through, what you are, the diversity.
I just want to be
there. And that's the greatest selling point of this country. So for us, one, let's not just expose it in the curriculum. Let's expose it also. Let's take people out. And let's make the places, you said places must be inclusive for kids as well. Yeah. Right? You know, when you go and you put on headphones, let's also make sure that there's ones where kids can put that are relatable to them. Imagine you hear another kid telling a story.
Telling the story. You know, South Africa through the eyes of a child. That's fantastic. And we hope to see. I mean, filmmakers, we're talking about this place and how America has been able to be great in embedding its destination, its spaces. I was like, Clement, we have the Roy Falk, bro. The only fighter chopper that is able to make a reverse on air. I've never seen it in any.
See it on the inauguration day?
Yes, I've not seen it in any film.
Yeah.
Surely,
Never
if it's a budget issue, somebody can come to the party. Fighter fiction films, we should be having these types of thing, and right here being built here by Dinel. And for me, it's these little nuggets that shapes up our story, and they come from everybody. There's a program called Man and the Machine. You can imagine that program now featuring the Roy Falk and telling and sharing the South African story and the South African invention. And I guess yourselves as platforms that narrate this, with interacting with clients, interacting with corporates, these are some of the conversation I guess you are having.
That's it. There's a huge opportunity for that. I think we need to be patriotic in how we even tell our stories. I mean, in the US, how many series films have you watched that also show you the White House?
Exactly.
That show you
Inside.
that right inside.
How the president operates.
Yes. And how many do we have here? I've never seen a series that showcases the union. So yeah, there's an opportunity there, and I hope we can realize how lucky we are to have. I mean, places that are declared World Heritage Sites, and you've never been there as a South African. There's someone sitting in India, someone sitting in America who's like, I want to go to this place.
And when they find you here and they ask you how do I get there, you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't even
know. One of the things I've tried to do is, I remember I went to see Soweto not as a tourist, because I realized that I've never really explored Soweto.
Into the tuk-tuk.
Got into the tuk-tuk, and I went around and I learned so much about parts I don't even know about. Then I think we just need to be more intentional about it. There's a lot here we have.
And the role the media plays, Clement, in sharing this. I know we need to be commercially viable, we need to be relevant, relatable, but I guess there's another role that the media could play, and media in its different forms, in telling and sharing these stories authentic. I always say to people, Ubuntu doesn't even have an English translation. That's how authentic.
That's how authentic it is.
It is. You get what I mean. And now with different media platforms that exist, we're sitting in this platform and we're conversing, transmitting out information. How important is the media and in its different forms in narrating, sharing, but also inspiring others to be a continuum that continues to propagate this. It can't just be Tim Modise and then Clement Manyatela. How do we bring the others that continues the narration?
I think the different stations, the media houses need to understand their role. Their role is not just to share the news or to make money. You speak the commercial element, it's very important. But also we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to also talk about the country, to also teach people about the country. Which is why I said in our filmmaking, we also have to remember to be patriotic. In our storytelling, in our broadcasting, we need to remember that we are part of this country. And we have a responsibility for us as a community to talk about it, to talk about what can be seen, what can be learned about this country. So it's all of us, our responsibility. And as a host, it's not just mine. That's why I'm putting it at the responsibility of the station.
Absolutely.
Because when the station understands its role,
ecosystem of the station.
Yes. Then it trickles down to all of us. So when I'm not doing it, my station managers are like, your show is a bit imbalanced here.
I was watching the Olympics and I was looking at Destination Branding 101.
101.
Right there, the culture, the expression, the city of love, city of fashion, city of stars.
There was a fashion show.
Coming in
during
on the river, and not at the traditional Olympic stadium. And I said, this is a classical version of kicking out the box, not even working outside the box. They just kicked it out.
They were not at a stadium. I mean, the obvious thing is to do it
at the stadium, you switch off the lights and the lights.
That's the easy way, That was incredible. That's 101. And all of us, filmmakers, directors, broadcasters, we need to realize the responsibility and the importance of that.
So as we wrap up, we are in Pitori. So part of our drive is to start lifting the profile of the country's capital city, Pretoria. I mean, you have Washington and New York, clearly distinguished. The knowledge hub that is in Washington, the industries that are there, the culture, even the media that is there is cemented in that space. We have a Johannesburg and then we have a Pretoria that is like a passage of the city. So part of what, and one thing unique here is the language. I mean, whatever you get what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, we are working on building a Sipitori dictionary. We're talking to the presidency and say, every head of states that comes to the union building and visit, with the president being such a multilingual person, I guess the president can teach somebody the Spitori lingo there and there and build into this culture. The radio stations here I mean, you can imagine the radio station that just broadcasts in pure Pitori lingo. It just breaks the barriers.
Yes, and people see themselves in that. Because, I mean, even radio is about relatability.
Yeah.
Imagine when you speak how people speak. That's it. You've got them.
Connection.
Every time I do my outside broadcasts from Pretoria, I always go, hey, Kiss Pitori, like let's talk to Pitori, like on the open line, and people call in. Well, how do you say this? How do you
say this?
It's great how people appreciate that because they see themselves. You know, they relate with that.
We're looking forward. We're quite excited about this campaign.
I think that will be dope.
I mean, Reserve Bank, Rijazaka, Rezazaka, more Pitori.
Yeah.
You can imagine. They are building a money museum, so it should be finished soon. Almost to the size of your London money museums and the like. So quite excited. So we're hoping we will be able to mobilize partners coming in, joining us. And no, thank you very much for joining us. I know there's going to be a Bacardi challenge. Bacardi is a version of the Amapiano, which is exclusive in Pretoria. It has this exclusive dance. So we'll see if Clement can be able to do the Bacardi dance. We'll get it seen outside, but thank you very much for joining us. Another edition of Gauteng Live coming to you on the sidelines of 702 Walk the Talk, celebrating 30 years of freedom and democracy. Mo Pitori, recording something. Second round.